jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back
Hey Rick, how you doing? Can you hear me? Hey Rick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Outstanding, outstanding. What's going on, everyone? Scotty White, World Combat Sports. I have the one and only Rick GLASER on deck today. I appreciate you pulling up.
Thank you for having me. I've heard a lot of nice things about your show from multiple people, and there's always truth in quantity. Everybody can't be wrong. So here I am. I'm ready for all the hardball questions. Fire away.
Yeah, they're definitely going to start dropping the questions in the live chat. But, you know, you and I, we're going to kick it off and get past the warm-up phase and everything. First of all, how was your day today, man?
Well, we're in Buffalo, so between the depression of the football game on Sunday, the 13-second fiasco, and our cold weather and a lot of snow and wind, it's not too good here. But you know, I'm indoors, I'm comfortable, and here we are.
That's what's up. Hey, I did a lot. You know, I took the shovel out there, Rick, and I was trying to dig and try to go on a treasure hunt to try to validate what I've been hearing about. You know, Rick GLASER is a racist, right? So I try to dig up. I could not find anything online that anybody put out there, right? I couldn't find a tweet. I tried to find some old emails, and I couldn't find anything. Why do you think that it's so big right now when it comes to you?
I don't know. My wife, who's black, laughs about it every day. She shakes her head and she just says, "I have no idea where this comes from. It's ridiculous." And I mean, I've had the craziest things hurled at me for no reason. I'll give you just a couple examples, and I don't want to bore everybody, but one was I said that Crawford would beat Spence. Okay, and I've said this for years now, since he won the belt from Horn. Well, that's racist. Well, what's racist? Well, he fights for the white man, and Spence fights for the black man. That's what I got. Okay, that proved that I was racist. Okay, the second thing is I picked Fury to beat Wilder. Okay, well, that's racist. Well, why is it racist? Well, Fury's the white guy. I says, okay. What about my professionalism that people bet what Rick GLASER says? Yeah. I know, because I get all kinds of gift cards in the mail and all kinds of, those restaurant gift certificates, the plastic ones in the mail. Yeah. Cash sometimes, Cash App, all kinds of stuff. And am I going to put out the wrong pick because of the fact that it's just ridiculous. I said Fury was going to win, and he won. What more can I do? I feel Crawford would beat Spence. I've always felt that way. I felt early on it was 55-45 for Crawford. Now I don't even think it's a contest. I think the game is past Earl between the car accident, the eye problem that he had, his eye surgery. Once you get eye surgery, very few fighters are ever the same again. Ray Leonard was an exception. Sugar Ray Leonard was an exception, but the people are very hesitant. They don't get off as quick. They try to get out of the way more. They get taken out of their game plan, and I just don't think it's a close fight anymore. Crawford's at the top of his game. And it seems to me that even though the Spence is, quote, still undefeated, he's no longer at the top of his game. He didn't look great didn't look real good against Danny Garcia. His legs weren't what they were. And he's now what he was. It's that simple. But if that makes me racist, I don't know. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the whole thing is crazy. I mean, I've been as close to Don King as anybody has in boxing since 2003, and I tell them what people say. Oh man, motherfucker, they got the wrong motherfucking guy. So
You know
that's
what's
what Don.
crazy? What's crazy, Rick, is that you work with two individuals. I don't know how close you're working with Bob, right? But you work with Don King, Bob Arum, who absolutely despise one another at a certain point in their career. I'm pretty sure they had some type of respect. But then, you work for Don King that long, and then, the only reason that you stopped because you had cancer and so forth. Now you have association with Bob Arum, a person that has a dark history with Don King. That's kind of incredible.
Well, I don't. First of all, is my relationship is with his executive and his top boxing people. Bob and I, when he sees me at the fights, he says hello to me. Hey, Rick, how you doing? We might say hello for talk for 2 minutes, but my relationships are with the top guys. But I'm able to do business with them. The reason why that people do business with me on a regular, consistent basis, as far as even though that like I was doing business with Don King and now and Top Rank, is because I supply supplemental services and I provide different services to different people. With Don, I was providing negotiating skills, settling lawsuits, signing up fighters. Well, with Top Rank, they call me if they need an opponent to fight one of their guys or they need a sparring partner or something
Yeah.
like that. So the relationship is actually different, between how I conduct business with relatively speaking. With Don, I was his go-to guy. With Top Rank, I'm not their go-to guy. I'm just a guy that I'm friendly with them, and they do give me business. So, hey, Rick, we need a 10-round this, or I need a left-handed sparring partner that's 5'11", 5'10", 5'11". It's more of a tailored situation when I do business with Top Rank because they're very talented people, and they don't need me as much as some of the other organizations do around the world. And you got to respect that. Bob's got 7, officers of company officers. Bob's got, the 2 best boxing guys in the business, Bruce Trampler and Brad Goodman. And the only reason why I mentioned Bruce first, because he's the senior of the 2 of them. He's a
Okay.
Hall of Famer. Brad's eventual Hall of Famer, just a matter of what year he goes in. Hopefully this coming year in 2023. But basically speaking is that my role for everybody, what I do for everybody is different, but not only have an association, going back to the racist thing, my wife is black. Don King is, I've been super close with Don. He's like a father to me. My attorney before he passed away was black. Was black the last time I looked
Yeah.
before I saw him. I mean, now I have an association with Freeway Rick Ross. So, I just don't know where, how do you prove a negative? You know what
Well,
I'm saying?
I look at it like this, Rick. On YouTube, they have their clicks that they follow, and you're not
So,
alone in the delirium, Rick. When it comes to Crawford Spence, you're not alone in that because Spence
no,
has his heavy fan base and Crawford has his heavy fan base, but they clash and they get personal. So you're not
that,
alone in that perspective.
no, you're absolutely right. I went on another talk show, and my wife told me to bust their oranges and tell them that I eat black-eyed peas and cornbread 3 times a week.
See, I
So,
heard that. I was watching that.
yeah, okay, and I do. If the weather's cold and I don't leave the house for lunch, I eat black-eyed peas and cornbread. I love it. I eat 3 times a week. If it not in the summer, I don't, because I go out to lunch every day in the summer. But the winter, if you live in Buffalo, you stay hunkered in. So there's your. That's just part of it. What can I say?
Yeah, I see where you was going with it. I didn't get upset. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm from the South, and I just felt people already came with predetermined measures to come at you, and that's what happened. They know you married to a black wife, and then they say, "Oh, he was trying to take shots with the black eyed peas and shit." Man, get out of here. That's petty. That's just petty, man.
No, it was my wife busting chops. It wasn't me.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
know.
even think of it. I
I
didn't
know.
even think of it. Didn't even cross my mind. So it just, you know what? I, all I know is that everybody that truly knows me, on a first name basis, on a daily basis that I conduct business with, black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. Nobody says I'm racist. It's only on social media, and that's a shame.
No doubt. Hey, let's move to a topic that people may want to get to. You know, I want to give a shout out to Captain Chaos. Appreciate you linking this up, my brother. And big salute to you. Captain Chaos said, "Why is Lou DeBella hated by a lot of people?"
Because he doesn't pay anybody. He's okay. He just is a stiff. He stiffed me at a 7,500. What he does is he doesn't stiff any of the big power brokers out of a lot of money. When he stiffs people, like he stiffed Don King out of 7,700, he stiffed me out of 7,500. It's all small amounts, so you won't go after him with an attorney, because in New York City, to hire an attorney, it costs you 15 grand to go after what, 7,700, 7,500. He stiffed a kid in California for 4,500. That's what he does. He just stiffs all small money. If he owes you 150,000 and you got the paperwork, he'll pay you. But it's the small amount of money he stiffs you on.
Doesn't have something to do with the $10,000 cap? You know, it costs too much money to sue people where he's at or whatever, NYC,
right.
something like that.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It costs 15,000 to sue for peanuts. If he owes you 50,000, then it's worth going after him for 15,000. But other than that, it's really not. But all the money he owes is all small people or small amounts of money to big people. You know, one guy he stiffed out of 4,000. Oh, I forgot. You know, remind me. I forgot. Oh, it's all bullshit. Went on for years. Another guy 4,500. The list goes on and on. That's one thing about him. Another thing, he's a hypocrite. He talks about everybody else, but he's basically a glorified booking agent these days. But he talks about everybody else and the quality of their shows. He doesn't even put on shows anymore. All he is a booking agent. He doesn't have a TV deal. He doesn't have a streaming deal. What does he have? He's got a reputation from 20 years ago. He ain't done anything in years. He just got Gambosis as a world champion, yes. But you know what? I mean, he doesn't have. He's got to go to Hearn or Arum to either fight Lomachenko with Arum or with Hearn with Devin Haney. He can't. Once he's got to pit the two of them together, he can't say, "Okay, you guys come on my network." He has nothing, or go pay-per-view. He just doesn't have anything.
Okay. What did you think about him being next to Shelly Finkel, you know, as Deontay Wilder's, you know, on the Deontay Wilder's half, you know? He had
no contract. He had no contract. He had no right to go to the zone because he didn't have a contract. He was a front man. That's all he was a front man.
So he tried to do a deal behind their back?
Oh yeah, that's why nobody talks to him anymore. That whole crew doesn't even deal with him anymore because he double crossed. He called up Wilder directly and didn't tell Shelley, and told him not to tell Shelley and not to tell Heyman, and go right to the guy who ran the zone at the time, John Skipper, and the whole thing backfired in his face. So, and Skipper admitted he made a mistake by going to Lou DeBella. So, but I don't think Skipper knew. I don't think Skipper knew that DeBella didn't have a contract, or he was just a front guy because he was holding himself out to be the promoter of the fighter. So, if Skipper thought that and didn't realize he had a contract, you know, Skipper's not really in boxing. He's a TV executive. You know, I'll give him a pass for that. But everybody in boxing knew Lou didn't have a contract. So It's sort of, why did he ask? He didn't call Rick GLASER. He didn't ask me. I know that.
Yeah, I hear you. And that's amazing how people still don't get their paperwork. You know, for the most part, you know, Wilder had his paperwork in order for the contract for the trilogy. But that was always a little, you know, weird with Lou DeBella and Shelly Finkel both. But, you know what I'm saying? He ended up showing his true colors. You're a man of many hats. You know what I'm saying? You do the matchmaking, you know, the power broking, consulting, and which one did I leave out?
Well, I'm an international agent, broker, consultant. I really don't do much matchmaking anymore. Matchmaking is doing a whole show as a licensed matchmaker with the state for that show. Your job is assigned by the promoter. I don't really do that anymore. It's too time consuming.
Yeah.
My business is mostly international these days. 70% of my business is overseas. Like just today, I made 3 deals today. All overseas. One I made Friday overseas. Um, it's a different kind of, it's different today than it was 5, 6 years ago, where my business 5, 6 years ago, well, I shouldn't say 5 because I had the cancer, but prior to 2016, when I developed the cancer, my business was 50-50 American and the rest of the world. Now today it's 70% international. And thankfully it is, to be honest
So
with
with
you.
those numbers, right, Rick? Let me ask you this: with those
Sure.
numbers, I want out of 1 through 10. How do you feel that you're important to the sport of boxing with everything you do right now? Right, 1 through 10. What would you
Um,
rate your importance to boxing?
um, I don't want to overrate myself because what I am is I'm a consultant and advisor to the power brokers. I'm not necessarily a power broker. I'm what I call I'm a provider of quality supplemental services to the boxing business worldwide. Here's the great thing about me, and I tell everybody this: I come with 31 years of experience. Okay, and when you're doing business with me, it's totally in confidence. So the deal, it doesn't get. In other words, I make a deal for a guy, and I'm getting paid, and it comes announced. The big, the deal's made. You don't have to mention my name. I don't have to take any laurels. Just pay me. Lou DiBella failed to pay me. That's all. It was that simple. It was 11 years. It was just this November I celebrated 11 years. But listen, I get my pound of flesh with the bell every day. So
Yeah,
in my own way, either I tell a fighter that's fighting at the bell, you're not fighting for enough money, or a guy's going to sign up with the bell, and I said, no, 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 let me take you somewhere else, and I steer him somewhere else, and then I pick up a commission. But my business is supplying, providing supplemental services worldwide. And, I'm like a hired gun is what I
yeah,
am. I have my own accounts that I do business with, but I want people to call me when they have a problem. I don't want people to call me on 5 days notice. Don't get me wrong. But if you're sitting there a month out, 6 weeks, and you're scratching your head, what some kind of logistic problem, a problem with a fighter, maybe 3 months out, you need sparring partners for the guy for
yeah.
camp, whatever it is, I supply. I sign up fighters for people, for promoters, for managerial companies. Several of them. Freeway Rick Ross is one. He's an advisory company actually. I just do what I have to do every day to make a living. I've been doing it for 31 years. I'm a New York State Hall of Fame inductee. I'm an elector in Canastota, which means I'm a voting member there. Hopefully someday I get inducted in Canastota. I'm sort of fill a role in boxing that's I'm going to say was unfulfilled before I did. There's a few guys that did it at the top end, like Don Majeski, who's still around, but I
Yeah.
do everything from 12-round fights to 4-round fights, sparring partners, which the other guys don't do, and a little bit of everything. And people consult with me about the biggest fights in the sport and who's going to win and why, and whatever it takes. And some people I get paid a percentage, some people I get charged by the hour. But the greatest thing about me is not only do I do things right and proper and professional, I don't get paid till after the fact. So if you
Okay.
put me in a case and I don't deliver on my end, you don't owe me anything. It's
That's
that
food for
simple.
thought. Didn't know that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Didn't know
It's
that. I asked because barbershop conversation had Fred had you on twice, right? So I seen where he had Cameron Duncan on. And he asked him. He said, "What does Rick Glaser like means to boxing, quote unquote?" I don't know if that's the exact words. And Cameron Duncan said nothing. He said, "You
okay.
don't mean
Well,
nothing to boxing."
okay. Well, let me say a few words.
So
The
I just
next
wanted to
time,
know why was that the way it
yeah, the
was.
next time Cameron Duncan tells the truth about anything, it'll be a historic moment in American history, and everybody in boxing feels that way. Okay, that's why he's banished to Top Rank, because he kept lying to all the people there. He doesn't tell the truth. And whatever Cameron Duncan says about me, I can live with it. I make a very nice living in professional boxing. I live comfortably for what I do, and I'm not trying to be the king of the roost. I'm not trying to be Don King. I'm not trying to be Bob Arum. I have my role in boxing, and I fit nicely in there every single day, 365 days a year. I'll go to bed at 1 o'clock tonight, maybe 1:30. Get up and start working at 4 o'clock in the morning again, and do this all day. Appear on I'll be on 27 podcasts this month, and interviews done by Zoom this month alone. So I must be
Wow.
doing something. I know that's more than Cameron Duncan. I promise. I've got
Yeah,
one. I've got one tomorrow with the Zone. Next Monday I'm on with Fred. I got two more on Thursday and Friday. I don't even know who they're with. I mean, I have a publicist and everything. I mean, I'm in business. I'm in total business.
Hey, I can't do anything except, ask you this, since you're on social media so much, like you've actually risen pretty quickly. You know what I'm saying? You put the jetpacks on and you're willing to come out here and allow us, the content creators on YouTube, access to you, because you are a man of a wealth of knowledge, right? So when it comes down to the amount of experience that you had in boxing and everything, and what you've experienced so far, right? With the social media era, would you even say that YouTube, with all the lives, with how much we report for free on boxing, do you think it would ever be relevant to media? Do you think the YouTube community as a whole will ever be relevant to the point where somebody pay us attention? You know what I'm saying? When it comes to these boxing matches and everything else that goes on in the sport.
Let me go to my part, and then I'm going to lead into that part. Okay. So, okay, because it's two stories in one. It's two separate stories, but I'm leading to a point here. People ask me every day. I get somebody asked 5-6 times a week. I get asked, Rick, you're a very busy guy. You play a role in boxing. Blah blah blah. How come you're on social media talking to the fans? Well, first of all, for 3 reasons. Boxing's my livelihood. But boxing on social media is my hobby. Okay. I don't play golf or tennis. I'm legally blind. Okay. I have no depth perception. I can see fine. Okay. From here, Scotty, you're a good looking guy, but I don't go that way. So don't worry about it. But I have no depth perception.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had 9 concussions growing up between car accidents. Got hit over the head with a baseball bat when I was a kid, all kinds of stuff. But the point is, this is my hobby. Okay. That's the first thing. Second thing is, there's no such thing as boxing fans in reality. Okay. There are fans in boxing are casual watchers that channel surf, see a fight, and they stay there for 15 minutes. That's a fan. Boxing has enthusiasts. The NFL has fans. They watch for free. Okay. Yeah. The truth of the matter is, boxing, people that watch boxing and pay for pay-per-view and the Zone and ESPN Plus and Showtime, okay, they deserve what I call the boxing enthusiast label. Okay. And I think that's a very good separation. Those people deserve to get all the hard questions answered that nobody else answers. And they deserve that. And I've led that quest since 2009, and nobody else has caught on in boxing or in the media. Okay. That's why I do it. Okay. I'm a boxing insider. I almost came into the business as a total boxing insider. I didn't become boxing insider 15 years later. And I got very lucky. How I came into boxing, and I want to spread that knowledge to people that are paying to watch boxing. Okay. So leading to your question, I believe with people like me going on social and the podcast and other quality people joining in from the professional boxing business will help the credibility of the YouTube content providers, such as yourself, such as Fred, and other people. And I think that's going to help. And I think that, some of these podcasts are a little off the wall, and they get a little goofy at times, and they get into racism, and they get into too many things that aren't boxing related. Reality is that with more quality people coming on and more quality producers such as yourself, I think going forward, more because social media is such a big play in society today, I think it's going to matter more to the point that 10 years from now, people will be going to YouTube, okay, for the news stories such as yourself will provide and various people will provide, more so than it is even today. So I think a guy who's got 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 subscribers today will have 250,000 10 years from now.
Yeah, true. We just, it's hard to figure out if they're really genuine subscribers, because most of the time you see those individuals go live. It doesn't say they have 50,000 subscribers. You only see maybe 600, 400.
Well, that's what I've watched other podcasts and other sports like I'm a big NASCAR fan. That's another thing. I backed Donald Trump. I'm a racist for that. I'm a racist. I like NASCAR. I mean, what could I say? You know what I'm saying? So I want to let everybody know something that's very interesting. Okay. So I'm Jewish. I'm very proud to be Jewish. What the young black people today under 50 years old don't realize is that blacks and Jewish people were held back by white America. That's one of the reasons why Jewish people tend to employ black people when they own businesses, or they're in the position to hire people. They hire many blacks because we were held back, and blacks were held back by the white population. Matter of fact, Henry Ford, the original Henry Ford, once held a meeting with his top guys in a stamping plant in Detroit and said, "We do not hire Jews or blacks in no particular order." So there you go. So that's just the way it is.
I mean, hopefully, you educated some people on that, because to be honest with you, just a lot of people don't know the difference between a white person, a Caucasian, and a Jew. They don't know the difference. They all look alike walking down, like they say black people. They say we look
No,
alike in certain circumstances.
Jewish is a religion. It's not a nationality, but Jewish people are completely different than my wife says it. My wife says, when I first told her that Jewish people are different than the rest of white society, she thought it was funny. And then when she started to meet my family and the family friends and started to meet people I was doing business with, and she says, "You were right about something." I said, "What's that?" And she goes, "Jewish people are completely different." You know, one thing about Jewish people that's very unique is Jewish people, every time they sit down, they have a meeting of some type. It's over food.
Okay.
It's always over food. There's no bare desk, and you're sitting across a desk. A real meeting, it's over food. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. That's one thing. Another thing is it's different with Jewish people, to be honest with you about it. We have a very weird way of thinking. And I agree it's weird. Okay. We argue over everything. Example, today I'm arguing with Sprint T-Mobile over about the sales tax issue that I have with them. Okay, and it took me a week, and they ruled in my favor. We're only arguing over $87.50, but I was right. Okay, they violated state law. What they were doing, they violated state law. My wife said, "You spent about 6 hours arguing." I says, "Honey, it's principle. That's the Jew in you." That's what she said to me. So we're just a different breed of people, and we tend to relate to people of color, black people, because of the fact that we were both held back by white America. But the younger black people don't know that. The older black people do. That's the difference.
I appreciate the dropping those gems, because a lot of people, like I said before, it's a tough to separate the two. But myself, I love what I am since day one, a black man in society, And I can't speak for all black people, but I'm saying myself, you know, we do think different in a way on what we have experienced. You know what I'm saying? We do have our guard
Absolutely.
up. We have our
I,
guard up. We pretty
I've
much,
seen I've seen my wife, because she's black, and just me being with her, I've seen her 6, 7, 8 times things that were totally racist against her, or no less than prejudice, but
yeah,
racist, really. Let's call it racist. There's a difference between prejudice and racist, by the way.
right.
Okay, and let me, for everybody that's listening, distinguish between the two of them. Prejudice is if two people, if a guy's hiring two people, a white man's hiring two people, and he chooses a white man over a black man with equal qualification just because the one guy's white. That's prejudice. Racism is hate, outright hate. There's a difference. Okay, you can be prejudiced and not be hateful.
What
Okay,
would be the difference between the results from prejudice from the guy?
well,
What
well,
would
a
be the difference in
person
the
that's
results?
prejudiced is not going to attack a guy because he's black or Hispanic or Asian and stuff, physically attack somebody or lambaste them, with verbiage or do graffiti or any of that stuff. A racist person has that capability. A prejudiced person doesn't. There's a big difference. Okay. Is the end result could be the same? It could be, but not as likely. Okay.
Yeah.
Continue. I'm sorry.
I wanted to read one of the chats. Again, Captain
Mhm.
Chaos said, "Would Don King be more appreciated today?"
Oh, absolutely, because he makes real fights. Absolutely, he made some the greatest fights in history, as Bob Arum has always. But Don stacked undercards. Don made some great matches, and Don made matches that people wanted to see.
Right now, I know he has a heavyweight, Trevor Bryan, and it was a whole debacle with him and Emmanuel Char, supposed to fight, didn't fight, and all that.
It's
So
real simple.
finally,
It's real
Emmanuel
simple.
Char, he
Manuel
moved,
Char
he moved
cannot.
inside,
It's simple. Manuel Char cannot get into America at all. Zero.
right? Okay.
Okay, the government will not allow him in here because Emmanuel Char is not his real last name. It's some, I don't know, real long name with
Yeah.
with 30 letters and stuff like that, first and last name, and he's not allowed in the country. Okay, it's that simple.
Okay. I got you. Let's get to boxing. It's always a conversation about, inflated records. Will it ever be a time? Well, let me back up a little bit. I always tell people there's no way that boxers coming into the sport will be fighting killers, a murderous row of tough individuals. Because for one, they're not trying to get into boxing that way. You just have average people getting licensed, and then you have the above average, the ones that's actually taking it serious. But what I want to know is, will there ever be a time, do you think, that fighters can build a record up quite differently than going 10-0 and basically fight nobodies, 10, 15-0, fight nobodies?
Okay, so
Why is it so
let
easy
me
for that to
let
happen?
me let me explain how I look at things compared to other people do, and I know other people in boxing feel this way. Okay, because I've talked to them. A fighter that's got good amateur credentials deserves to fight guys he's supposed to be able to beat. What does this guy say? Guess there's a lot of liars just lying on GLASER. I don't know what that means, but whatever. Um, okay, so I don't even know what that means, but what
Don't
basically
let
it
it break
is
your thought. Keep going.
what basically it is in the first 10 or 12 fights, a guy deserves to learn his trade, settle into being a pro from an amateur, setting down on his punches, and looking the part, inside the ring, outside the ring, and
Yeah.
developing physically, mentally, and emotionally, and with experience. After that, you got to take off the friggin', um, the training wheels and set them loose and have them start fighting people. But for the first 10 or 12 fights, a fighter deserves that, to be honest with you.
Okay. So that's pretty much a commonality. But when it comes up in conversation, we hear it out here as content creators when we're discussing the records, and we always go back to the beginning. and see how many losing records a fighter have. And then when they get to the point for them to fight for something that actually means something, then they say, "Oh, they ain't fought nobody," and which is most of the time true. You know what I'm saying? Because boxing has that open door where you can get a license for a little of, very minimal examination, and you can start building your own resume as a B
Well,
side,
you got to
as
have
movement,
some,
or A
in
side.
other words, to win 12 professional fights, even if you're fighting dummies, you got to have some degree of skill because somebody's putting you in and spending time with you and investing money in you. So you have to have some ability to fight. Now, whether the guy can take a punch, does he have mental resolve? And when the going gets rough, will he bail? Will he stand up and fight back? You don't know. That's why when anytime I've developed a fighter, and I like to put him in every fourth to fifth fight on the way. So you give him four guys he's supposed to beat. Then you step him up real strong into the next level entirely. Then he passes that. Then you go on and you give him four more guys at that level right there that he just beat. And then you go up to the next level after that. So all of a sudden you got a fighter that's 11-0. That's how you're supposed to do it.
So you can separate the ragu sauce.
Yeah,
The ragu sauce
absolutely.
has layers like
Yeah,
lasagna.
it's just like lasagna. Meat, cheese,
Yeah,
noodle. Same thing. It's no different in reality. Everything's got levels to it.
I just had to ask because it's always a topic. You look at Canelo, how many fights he had in Mexico. He said he wasn't fighting any more Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? And then you look at a lot of other fighters, they haven't fought nobody. And then when it comes to a point where they should be fighting for a big, in a big fight, people are saying they ain't fought nobody, they ain't selling tickets. So it's always going to be a topic of the conversation on here.
It just depends on who's the handlers are, who the fighter is, who the trainer is. Don't forget one thing: if you got a really good trainer, like a Robert Garcia, a Freddie Roach, people believe he can fight, or they wouldn't be involved. So you can put them guys in with soft touches and get away with it because you got a you got a trainer that's got a big reputation. But if you got a trainer they don't know of, or a low-level trainer that people knows has been around for years but never had anything, people assume the guy can't fight. That's just how it works.
Gotcha. Hey, I listened to you talk about the Devin Haney situation with the franchise belt. Here's my take on it. It
No,
was
French fry belt.
French fry, whatever.
Yeah, well, he's got
hot fry.
actually. Let me declare that properly. He does not have the French fry belt. Cambosis has got the French fry belt.
I know.
He's got the WBC lightweight belt, and I do recognize Gambosis. There was a question on Fred's, and do I recognize who do I recognize as the champ? One is the franchise champ, and one is the legitimate WBC lightweight champ because they never had the opportunity to fight each other.
But what I wanted to say is, right, Rick? I said more so the influence of this belt is delegated by Mauricio Suleiman. Okay, so he's the enforcer because he's the president of the WBC. I took it as if he's had more of an influence in allowing Lomachenko not to fight after he won the vacant WBC, and then he allowed him to petition. Now, you did educate me on something about whether Devin Haney was mandatory or not, and I didn't actually know technically how it went down. But I look at it like this with Devin Haney. I do feel a lot of fighters in the lightweight division are ducking him and have ducked him. And you just how long are you going to say a fighter's not going to sell? Fighter's not going to sell. Right now, Cambosis has the opportunity to choose Devin Haney or Cambosis. So therefore, if we don't have any numbers of Lomachenko in Australia, and I know you mentioned COVID, or Devin Haney in Australia, so it should be an even kill, right? Am I close enough?
Yeah, listen, whoever he chooses, Gambosis is coming up with the most of that promoter is coming up with the most amount of money. So if he ends up with Lomachenko, he doesn't think he can beat Lomachenko, or it's not, or Devin Haney. That's not coming into his mind. Whoever offers the most is getting the fight. That's period what it's all about. He wants to fight in Australia. Maybe he'd fight, and maybe if Aaron says, "Hey, we'll go to Australia. take a little less, maybe he does that. But it's about the Benjamins. That's all it's about. It's about the Benjamins. Okay,
I just
so
feel in that particular lightweight, that particular division is a lot of talent there, but it's just, certain individuals has been allowed to get away with just doing
they
their own.
got two guys coming up that's really hot. That's right below them is Frank
Frank
Martin
Martin? Yeah,
from
Frank.
PBC, and the other fighter is William Zepeda from Golden Boy. They're
Yeah.
on the cusp. So you've got that what the lightweight division is going to be a year from now. I'll tell you what it's going to be. It's going to be the same thing as the light heavyweights were in the late 70s and early 80s, when the light heavyweights were filled with Dwight Muhammad Quarry and Michael Spinks and Eddie Mustafa Muhammad and the Davis brothers, Johnny and Eddie Davis from Long Island, and Jerry the Bull Martin, and the list one, and Vonzell Johnson, and they were all killers. Okay, now they didn't look like killers, some of them, because they got killed by who they were fighting, but they were all really good fighters. Pete McIntyre was another one. There was a whole bunch of them back then, and that's what you're dealing with. That's exactly what you're dealing with here. It's going to be a talent-laden division. There's no question about it.
How do you which direction you think Kambosos will lead? Lomachenko or Devin Haney at the end of the day?
Whoever pays the most and agree and will fight in Australia. That's the two things that he cares about: fighting in Australia this first time and the money. That's what's my opinion. And he's the champ. He's going to call the shots. So that's just the way it is.
I thought you mentioned that Lou DiBella doesn't have the structure to put on a fight. So when
he doesn't have the. Where's the money coming from? He needs
where's the money coming
an
from?
ESPN. Listen, he's just a high price booking agent these days. That's all he is. That's all.
So will it be better? Do you think it would be beneficial for Eddie Hearns to put on a fight like that, since his fighters are getting paid well, or what?
Well, it's if you ask me who's going to get it, I would say I would think that Eddie would get it, but I know that Devin's going to want a lot more money, because Devin is that kind of, his father's that kind of guy that he'll want $4 million when he's fighting for $2 million, where Lomachenko might be fighting for $1.5 million, and he'll take $1.5 million just for the opportunity to get the titles back. So I think that might play a big difference. And Lomachenko will definitely travel over there. I don't think Bill Haney's the bravest guy I've ever met when it comes to his son.
Well, I look at it like this, Rick. He's brave in different ways than what you might respect. I mean, he put in a lot of hard work for Devin. You got to admit.
Hard work is something. But see, this was a misunderstanding when Bill Haney came on Fred's show. He came out like gangbusters and went out with a whimper. Okay,
you know what it is. That's how he is. That's how he pull up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he pulled up. Wait, he pulled up with a Ferrari and left with a Kia. Okay. So I said something to him on the show. I said, Bill, you've done a great job. Keep getting $2 million a fight and keep fighting regular guys and stretch this thing out for years. Why go over there and take a chance because you want to get twice as much money? It's stupid. Just keep fighting. Just do what you're doing. Don't step out. That's all. He's going to go to Australia. He's going to have the judges not in his favor, okay? Because he's only got one. He's got a half a belt. The other guy's got 3.5 belts. I mean, he's really fighting politics there. And I hope
that fight happen though, Rick. I hope that fight happen though, for real.
As I told him, I hope I'm wrong. I hope the fight happens. I hope they take the fight, but it's a tough road to hoe. I'll tell you that.
Do you think there's any more respect between you and Bill Haney after that meeting, or no?
Oh, absolutely. There would have to be, wouldn't there be?
I mean, hey, you dropped some gems on there. And
I dropped some gems on there. I identified the guy. I kept saying that guy in New York City, and he shit his pants, but he knew I knew about that. So there's part of your answer. He come in like a ball of fire, jumped out of the Ferrari, and then he started calling me Mr. GLASER, Mr. GLASER, Mr. GLASER. I went for that. He thought I was just some guy that was around for 30 years. He didn't really realize where I was at. And when I identified that guy in New York City, I go, that guy in New York City, that guy in New York City, he knew the gig was up. And that's what he went,
Hey, I want to say this, coming up to
he was, excuse me, one day he was so confused. He said he was going to the restaurant. The next minute, he was cooking.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
that.
Cooking in the restaurant?
You asked him, was he cooking his food or whatever? Yeah, I mean, but I think it is what it is. He have his own lane, you have your own lane. I want to ask you this though. It's only a couple of times that you really, got perturbed, so to speak, and agitated. One of them was when when the guy said that Top Rank was ripping off Floyd Mayweather. A lot of people believe, that's the reason why Floyd Mayweather went over there to Al Heyman. And then, that's when you say, no, he wasn't ripping off Bob Arum. He just wanted to go because Al Heyman whispered in his ear.
Of course.
Can you elaborate on that just a bit?
Well, if he was ripping him off, wouldn't Floyd have sued him? Floyd bought his contract out. There's a misconception here. Floyd didn't go to court. Floyd didn't fight Bob. He says, how much do you want? $750. Al gave Floyd the money. Floyd paid Bob, and they were off on their way. That's all. There was nobody was ripping anybody off. This is where I have a resentment about how people use these phrases, ripping people off. Okay, whatever's on that contract, you have to get paid by law. The State Boxing Commission says so, and they protect they're there to protect the fighters and the fans, not the promoters. Trust me when I tell you that. Okay, all the rules are dictated towards protecting the fighters and the fans. How they're protecting the fans? You have to have a minimum number of rounds per show of 26 rounds, professional rounds scheduled. Okay, and if you have if you don't have 26 rounds. You have to announce that anybody wants their money back to get their money back right now. They don't meet the required 26 rounds by state law. So the next thing you know is boom. Okay, that's how they protect the fans. And other ways too, where you have to announce replacement bouts that are star bouts, all kinds of stuff. The truth of the matter is, Bob didn't rip Floyd off. Everybody, all the boxing insiders know that Floyd was very well compensated. Okay, great that he's made a lot of money with Al Heyman. Okay, don't forget that he fought Oscar De La Hoya, and that put him over the top when it comes to earnings in boxing. That victory right there. So that and the rest is history. He's done very well, but in reality, he didn't get ripped off. That's a ridiculous statement. That if anybody makes it, when they do make that statement, I chuckle at shit like that.
Appreciate the explanation. What do you think the distance going to be with the traction on Terence Crawford lawsuit, against Bob Arum? How much traction do you think that's going to get?
Wait, there's a question here. Who is the best Jewish boxer ever seen? We're talking about the Jewish. Benny Leonard. Barney Ross is probably second. Gus Lenovich, Maxie Rosenblum. There's a lot of great Jewish boxers back in the day. Today, nothing. But back then, many of them. What do I think is going to happen with Terence Crawford? I think it was a big mistake. I really think it was a big mistake. There's no question about it. I don't see where it has ground. Okay, there's tones of racism in there that it's not racist. It's capitalism. He says he's owed a fight. It says in the lawsuit from 2019, when it's actually 2020, he had his 2 fights in 2020. The COVID struck in 2020, and he didn't want to fight in front of no crowds. Okay, he fought one time. If he's owed a fight, then why on November 20th, when he fought Porter, did he declare himself a free agent? If he was owed a fight, it's very interesting. The judge is going to look at that and say, "Well, hold it. If you declared yourself a free agent on November 20th, you had a fight coming. Well, why? If they owed you a fight, then you're still under contract. Which one is it? Because of the shutdown for the COVID, that contract would extend to cover that fight. You can't have your cake eat it too. It doesn't go both ways.
But let me ask you this: you have to look at it from both ways. Would he have been guaranteed to get that fight next? Because Errol Spence, I don't think, after the injury and everything,
He's not. Earl
he
Spence
would
is
have been able
not
to fight
fighting
him before
Crawford.
the expiration of the contract, though. He would have been
Earl
able to fight him, right?
Earl Spence is not fighting Crawford. Okay, that isn't happening. Okay, if it was going to happen, Al Heyman would have signed him up already. But Al
Okay.
Heyman can't afford to pay him $5-6 million a fight. He's going to want a lot of money. He just fought for $6 million against Porter. He's not going back to $4.5 million. So he's going to want at least $5 million. He's going
I
to
know you
end up.
be checking the box on a lot of your predictions. I know you be checking the box. If you get this wrong, but they gonna be on your helmet. They gonna say, Rick, you said they want to fight. Al signed the fight. They gonna tell you, hey, you was wrong.
If they were going to fight, Al would have signed them up already.
What do you think the percentage should be? 60-40, 50-50?
Oh, 60-40 is fair.
Okay.
If listen, 60-40 is fair. Listen, whatever they want to make, that's their business. Okay. But the fact is, I don't think there's enough money to go around to satisfy all the egos. And I also don't think that Spence wants anything to do with Crawford. I think it's a twofold situation. Remember one thing. This is an interesting fact. Okay, this isn't racism, ladies and gentlemen. This is capitalism. Watch for the capitalism now. when they paid Mikey Garcia and they paid Danny Garcia, they are Hispanic. They are attracting a different marketplace. Okay,
and they were both in AT&T Stadium too.
Great. Now you have two black men fighting. You have one segment of the population there. You don't have the Hispanics tuning into a fight like that. They lose that leverage in a fight like that. Okay. Another fallacy about this whole thing with Crawford is, why did Bob Arum pay Amir Khan $5 million? Okay. Oh, he overpaid him. He could have paid Bud more. Bob doesn't know what he's doing. No, here's the facts. The facts is that Amir Khan brings in huge TV revenues from the UK, Ireland, and the Middle East, okay, and Pakistan, India, and all those countries because of his ethnic background and his religion, okay? That's the reason why he paid him that kind of money, because it was relevant to the foreign TV revenues. Crawford and Porter aren't going to do, I'm sorry, Crawford and Spence wouldn't do shit in foreign TV revenue. Just a fact. That's why Tyson Fury gets paid so much. Why? Foreign TV revenues. There again. It's what the facts are. What's this one here? Rick dropping knowledge. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, they gave you a
Trini. I know Trini follows me on Twitter. Hello, Trini. How are you, sir? He's always a pleasure.
Trini.
Trini's
the
most polite guy on Twitter.
Appreciate the donation. I appreciate you pulling up too. You have another one. They say, hey, World Combat Sports, ask Rick if Bob Arum knows how to promote non-black fighters by giving them TV time and exposure via linking their names to TR marquee fighters. Why not do it for Bud too?
Because Bud was uncooperative with making ESPN appearances on the Sports Center and the other shoulder programming. He wouldn't show. He wouldn't go. He wouldn't appear on the on their forms of communication to do it, and he had no interest. He turned down multiple times. Everybody threw their hands up in the air. See, this is the stuff they're not telling you.
The next question says, what does Rick think about Canelo versus Andrade Debacle?
There's no debacle. One can't draw 5 cents except if he fights in his hometown of Providence. And one is the biggest money maker in boxing in the last 7 years. So,
hey, speaking of money making, Rick, why is it in the sport of boxing where it's so many open doors from all over, right? Why can't there be more Floyd Mayweather's, more Canelo's, top earners in boxing? Why does it always have to be
because the sport can only handle 2 to 3 big money makers at a time. In reality, they can't handle more than that, because you're asking to put those fights on pay-per-view, and then the fans will go crazy. So you've got to put people on regular television too, and cable and Showtime, premium TV, and streaming apps and stuff. You just can only do so many pay-per-views. How much will the fans put up with? These guys making the kind of money Fury makes, Wilder made with Fury made with Wilder, and all this other stuff that you're talking about. These Floyds and stuff like that. You got to put these fights on pay-per-view. You don't have any choice at that level. Now, people asking me about Crawford and Porter should beforehand should have been on pay-per-view, and after it should have been on pay-per-view. They were asking me both. Okay, here's my answer. It was a borderline pay-per-view going in. Okay, and it was a borderline pay-per-view going out. Okay, first of all, if the split is 60-40 with the cable producers, okay, and they did 138,000 homes on the streaming, it was only on streaming. There was no home TV. You couldn't buy it on TV at home, and you had to be an ESPN Plus, own an ESPN Plus subscription. So they limited themselves. ESPN did, not Top Rank. They limited themselves trying to build up their app business, and I get that. But if it was on regular cable TV, it would have done about 250,000 homes, and that it would have been about 240 to 250,000 homes. I feel if it was on regular cable pay-per-view. If it was on pay-per-view on cable television, not just on the app.
I remember where they was talking about PPV was dead. But it seems like it's coming back.
No, it's not dead. No. It's not dead. It's only good for certain fights. Fury, Wilder fights, Canelo fights. Right now, Jake Paul, that's it. The rest, they don't belong on pay-per-view. I mean, the stuff that Al Heyman and PBC put on pay-per-view, whether it's Showtime or Fox pay-per-view, it's disgusting.
Well, Eddie Hearn put on the YouTubers first, didn't he? He put on Jake and Logan Paul.
Yeah, but it wasn't on pay-per-view. It was streamed.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Okay, I got you.
He's not asking for $79.95. He's asking for a monthly subscription of $9.99. Big difference.
Yeah, that's a huge difference in prices is going on over at PBC. But Fred made some good points over there, about what he believes that's going on with the structure. I know you mentioned that over there at PBC they don't have matchmakers.
No, they have no structure. The company does not have structure. Top Rank has structure. Everything's departmentalized over there. I mean, there's CEOs, COOs, chairman. There's executive vice presidents. There's CFO. There's COO. I mean, everybody's got some kind of is in charge of an official department with real people working there. The PBC looks like a fly-by-night organization.
What does boxing need to strengthen this organization? You know what I'm saying? Get some benefits to these fighters. What is possible? Is it possible for someone to somehow buy the sport, buy out the promoters or whatever? Get a president.
There's only three types of people capable of buying everything in boxing. A TV network is possible. Okay. They got the money. Okay. Literally a guy who owns an NFL football team or an NBA basketball team would have the money. Okay. So if he owns an arena too, they could, they could put it in that arena. Or an AEG who has control of many arenas around the country. Or like a sports service, the company called Sports Service, which is located in my own hometown, who controls the concessions in many, many, many stadiums and arenas across America. So they would earn a lot of money back by not having casinos, by having it in these buildings, because they would have the rights to all the souvenirs, the merchandise, the food, the beverage, the parking. So one of these type of could somebody come in like a outside investor, like what Paul Allen was before he passed away, or somebody like that, like literally a multi-billionaire? Possible, but highly unlikely.
Okay. So the sport will never be regulated, you know, because you look at
I don't see it. You know, everybody asks me about federal government intervention, about having a
yeah.
national commission. Unless it's run by boxing people, we're going to have a cluster, FUCK. It's not going to be good if the government runs it without boxing people involved.
You know, I have to ask about you know, the two names that really get YouTube riled up. That's that's Errol Spence and Deontay Wilder, right? And you think about all the buzz that was going on with
You mean
Deontay
the
Wilder.
You mean the Earl sexual and the Wilderettes? Yes, we know them well.
I'm a Wilder fan. You know what I'm saying? I
You
was
can
the
be a
one that
wild.
was on here
Time out.
debating about the
Time out.
cliche terms.
You can be. I've said this from the beginning. Okay, you can be a fan of Wilder and not be a Wilderette. A
Yeah.
fan wants to see him win. A Wilderette makes up excuses on why he didn't win, like the costume was too heavy, the gloves were loaded, or they took out padding out of the gloves. He was at PEDs. This water was spiked. Breland had something to do with it. Those are Wilderettes. Okay, you're not a
Well,
Wilderette.
hey, I have to disagree with you on that because I was one of the ones that felt that Tyson Fury was all about the recidivism. You know what I'm saying? He cheated once, he'll cheat again, Rick. I felt that he went up here and he was, mixing stuff up and
There was no,
again.
he was never suspended on box rec.
I
And
know, but he would have had to do it like Panama Lewis and Billy Collins and Louis Resto and all of them that night. They would have had to take care of it right there, and it didn't happen. I don't think he actually knew what was going on.
No, I doubt I doubt that they would do it under the auspices of the Nevada Commission. So
you
highly.
said, can I see the gloves? Can I see if they manipulated or nothing like that?
Wait, hold it. The commission holds the gloves. The inspector hands them to him and watches them put them on.
Yeah, but I heard you say, even in Nevada, the commission, the judges are a little bit shaky. So, man, we already know.
No. You're confusing the inspectors and judging. It's totally two different things. The judges aren't looking at the gloves in the dressing room. The inspectors are. They're professionals.
I'm speaking of
the judging. The judging in Nevada is very poor, but the inspectors are first class. So There you go. In California, they're first class too. The judging's not too good.
I just question, with a fight of that magnitude. I said before, I say for Wilder to go in there and keep his belt in the rematch, it was going to take everything to be perfect, and it ended up turning into one of the most controversial fights in boxing. That what I'm saying, even coming off, the long count with Jack Reese, I felt he was part of the long count there, Rick. I told him when I interviewed him.
And what fight? Which fight?
Huh?
Which fight?
The one where he knocked Fury out in the first fight when he knocked him out and his head hit the canvas and he was back with his mouth open with one leg up. Hey, Jack Reese told me for the spirit of the sport, he felt that Tyson deserved to fight on. You know what I'm saying? Even though he was on 18, you know what I'm saying? I didn't agree with that.
Well, I guess the results in the last two fights proved Jack Reese correct.
Hey, I understand that, Rick. I mean, that's my boy. I support Deontay Wilder like no other. He wanted to go out on his shield. He went out like he did as a warrior.
He went out on his shield with a face plant.
Yeah, but you know what a lot of people do though. Look at Manny Pacquiao.
Absolutely. Listen. I said something that I feel that this sums everything up about Deontay Wilder. If he had any doubts, he had a big heart. The motherfucker's got a fucking heart the size of an elephant. Because in that third fight, he went out on his shield and he took a beating. Yeah, that was a beatdown.
I mean, isn't that what it's about, though? I mean, if he would have,
absolutely. Wait. Absolutely. But some people don't go out on their shield. And he really showed. Listen, he said he wanted to go out on his shield and he was upset with Mark Breland. Well, he proved to everybody he wanted to go out on his shield. And he did. All respect to him. And I wrote it.
Absolutely, man. Shout out to the Bronze Bomber. I want to get your take on this, Rick. when it comes down to Lennox Lewis, you know how he lost to Oliver McCall, but he lost to Hakeem Rothman, his last loss, but yet he avenged it, right? So him and Deontay has only 2 losses. But do you think Deontay Wilder is totally out of the sport? He'll never come back? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, if he's listen, very few fighters that went out that got face planted, got beat up for 11 rounds, except for the 1 round in the 4th round. But he was basically tortured, throughout after the 4th round, he was tortured. So only one fighter ever came back and did anything, and that was Roberto, that I can remember in modern times. Was was 2 of them. I'm sorry. Was Roberto Duran against Tommy Hearns. After that, he won the WBC middleweight championship. He beat Iran Barkley, so that was 1. And when Michael Moore got knocked out by George Foreman, it wasn't a face plant; it was the back of a head plant, but he was out. And then he came back to win the world title again. Okay, so yes, it's possible, but you remember, Michael Moore was winning the fight.
Yeah.
And he got knocked out with 1 punch or 2-punch combination. So that was a little different. And Duran was only the 2nd round, so he didn't get tortured for 11 rounds. And don't forget, he got beat up the 7 rounds before that. So that's 18 rounds, and he lost 1 round, the 4th round in the 3rd fight. I just don't see how it can be the same again. I just don't see it.
Mentally, I can understand your assessment.
Mentally.
What now? Somebody must have called you. Somebody called you. You might want to go out and come back in. Can you hear me now? I can't hear you. Yeah, Rick is gonna go out and come back in. Appreciate everyone leaving your comments. I asked that question there, Eric. Yeah, I think somebody called you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Let me touch on this before I get right. Appreciate you elaborating on that, because I just thought, like, just like you said, Deontay Wilder was in this era. I was happy to be able to see him fight, and for him to have a rivalry with Tyson Fury, it blew up like a volcano. It ended up being worthy. You know what I'm saying, to the boxing community.
No question. It was fight of the year in 2000. What was it? 2021 and 2020 for me. It was fight of the year both years.
I think he's going to be back. I don't think he's going to let those 2 losses be his last hoorah. I just don't see it. I
think he'll come back, but I don't think he'll be the same. So basically, what it is.
Okay. When is Anthony Peterson fighting next? I heard you as his manager or something like that.
No, Freeway Rick Ross. Freeway Rick. What's that?
Somebody asked about it in the chat. Eric Hunter. He said, when is Anthony Peterson fighting?
Well, Eric Hunter is associated with Sarah, who's the quote manager, a strain manager. So I'll take anything that Eric Hunter says with a big grain of salt. But anyways, here's the story.
I got you.
Freeway. I am not officially associated. I work with Freeway Rick Ross in a capacity with Rick as an executive consultant. He signed an advisory deal with Freeway Rick Ross. Okay, he's going to be fighting, and I'm not sure exactly when, but they rescheduling the show from the show they just had to another date. We're supposed to get it by next week. The new date.
Okay. That's what's up. Do you think 2022? What's the biggest fight you think is coming up? So the fight fans going worth the eyeballs. What do you think in 22? The biggest fight you want to see? Don't say Tyson Fury or Alexander Usyk.
No. The biggest fight that I want to see is GGG and and Murata, the WBA champion, world middleweight champ from Japan. I want to see that fight. I think that's going to be very exciting.
Even with him being out the ring for like 24 months plus, right? You think he's
I don't
still
think.
good?
Yeah, yeah, and if he loses, it's a changing of the guard. So
Okay.
Murata was an Olympic gold medalist, and he's the heart of Japan. I mean, he's the biggest fighter in Japan. He draws huge crowds, huge TV revenues. The whole country's fixated on him when he fights, because you got a whole country of small people that are fighting, and here's a guy that's 6'1" and 160 pounds. So people get excited. You know what I'm saying? So more so, he's not just another little guy over there. But that's the fight. That's a fight I really want to see. I'd really like to see Crawford and Josh Taylor fight if it can still be made, despite because Bob Arum's got Crawford. I mean, got Taylor.
Yeah.
If it can still be made, who knows?
You talking about Crawford fighting him at 40 or 47?
47.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just asking because you have some fights out there, but it always seems like something's going on with, I don't know, whatever the discussion is, man. It's just something that evolves and comes back around. But speaking of the 160-pound division, it's one of the most clandestine divisions going on right now. What is it going to take for that division? Mauro Charlo need to move up to 68 right now, ASAP.
Yeah, he can't fight at 60. He's proven he doesn't throw hardly any punches. He has no rhythm anymore at that weight. He's too drained. He needs to move up to 68, get his big paycheck against Canelo, get his beat down, and go home. That's all there is to
it. He said get his beat down. So you ain't giving Charlo 2% there, Rick? You ain't giving 2% to win?
Listen, there's a great line, okay? And in this particular weight class, they'll both be wearing 10-ounce gloves. It's a fair fight.
Okay. Wow. When you want him, would you respect it more if he fought Benavidez first, or it's better to go get the bag?
Who's that?
Mauro Charlo.
He ain't beating Benavidez.
Okay. All right. I'm along the same line. I think Benavidez is too much for him. You know what I'm saying? It's too much. Do you think that in the heavyweight division, what the heck is going on? What the hell are they doing? Like, I hear Joshua taking step aside money, pop, and then he said he's not, and then Alexander Usyk supposed to be fighting this person. I don't know what's going on up there.
Nobody knows anything for sure, but if let's just say, for instance, he takes step aside money. Then Fury's cleared to fight Usyk. He doesn't have to worry about White because a unification bout supersedes a mandatory. So, Dillian White will be left holding the bag again, one more time.
So why is he holding bags anyway? He's been in the position for quite some time. Why is
take
Dillian White
take that Eric Hunter question now? We already answered that question. Please.
Oh, okay.
If Eric wants to answer another question, tell him to come up with a new one. Continue.
Okay. He has some statements, but no questions. I didn't know who he was.
He was a good fighter back in the day. He's been in semi-retirement for several years now.
Oh, I got you. That's what's up. With boxing as a whole, right? Do you think that MMA as full speed ahead and catching up to boxing, or they already caught up, or what?
I think in the United States they caught up, but I don't think they have overseas. Okay. That's first of all. Second of all is their revenue at the gate for their top fights do not equal anywhere near boxing. Okay, but their pay-per-view numbers on when they do these monthly pay-per-views blow boxing away. Boxing's top fights equal their top fights, yes, but it's just they have more sponsors than we have. They have more corporate participation than we have. They got Harley Davidson. They got a whole bunch of more sponsors than we have, than boxing has. They're paying the fighters a lot less. Their top fighters make $400,000 to $600,000, and boxers make millions and millions. So
yeah, that's
right. It's a closed shop, and Dana White's taking advantage of it. That's all there is to it. He's doing a great job. But if you want to hold fighters back from making money, then that's what he's doing. He's not paying the fighters fairly. That's all there is to it. It's not hard to understand.
Thanks for elaborating. I'm about to get you up out of here, Rick. I want to ask you this though.
Hold it. It's only an hour and 12 minutes. I'm just getting warmed up, bro.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know if you had, places to go, people to see. I want
Fire away. Keep going.
I wanted to hear about, some times that you had, your top 3 times that you had with your experience as whatever you do. You know what I'm saying? All the hats that you wear, the jobs, whatever. What's been your top 3 experiences?
Don King putting me on the phone with George Bush. He was the sitting president of the United States of America.
Wow.
That was a top experience of mine. I was in an Escalade.
Like?
What's that?
What was that conversation like?
Well, I'll tell you the whole story. It's sort of funny. Don always told me that I told George Bush about you, President Bush. I told George about you. I told President Bush about you. Because I was Don's go-to guy and solved all his problems, his BS. So Don was always with him. He was at lunch with him, dinners with him at the White House. Don was and Bush were like this, right? So we're in 2006. We're in Phoenix. We're in a limo, Escalade limo, and not a limo, one of those extended, but Escalades. And we were there for a press tour. And George's personal assistant called up Lona, Don's personal assistant, and they got Don and George on the phone. And so Don says to me, this is a funny story. So Don says to George, he says, "Mr. President, do you know who I'm sitting next to right now?" He says, and George says, "Who?" He says, "You won't believe it." And he says, "Slick Rick." And I heard him say it through the phone. You know what I mean? So he says, and the president says, "Can I please speak to him?" So he put me on the phone with him. I says, "Mr. President, I'm humbled that you asked for me, that you asked to speak to me. I'm a huge believer in you, and you've done a great job for America so far, and especially with everything that went on." He says, "Well, Don speaks very highly of you all the time, and sometimes he calls you right in front of me, and I didn't even knew that." So it was like a 4-minute conversation, maybe 5 at the most, real quick. All just generalities, of course. It's the president. So I'm not going to tell him about my sex life or what boxing deal I'm doing that day, right? So this is too funny. So I never believed Don because Don's got that swag and that bullshit, and like, "Yeah, bro, pop, my main man," So I never believed that he was really telling the president about me. So I handed the phone back to Don. Don continued to talk to him. I'm sitting there. He said, "Goodbye, Mr. President." I'm about to say it. He said, "You son of a bitch." And before I even said it, he said, "I know you thought I was full of shit. I was telling you the truth all along, you no good bastard." And Don started yelling at me. I said, "Dad, I was just about to say, I know you were, you cockroach." It was funnier than hell. I mean, it was Saturday Night Live shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was funny. Okay. That was really funny. Another time on the same trip. Okay. Great story. On the same trip. Okay. A guy, we're standing out in the front waiting for the Escalade to show up. We're going to go to dinner at this famous steakhouse in Phoenix. I can't remember the name of it off the bat, but we're about to go to this famous old school steakhouse there. And we're standing out in front of the Hyatt. That's where we're staying, the Grand Hyatt, or what it's called. And these 2 guys come around the corner, and they looked like they were drunk. They were real big. They looked like ex-NFL linemen, real big guys. They got their ties open. They got suits on. Their tails were out of their, the front was hanging out. Yeah. They were half in the bag. They said, "Holy shit, what a town. We just saw an Elvis impersonator. There's a Don King impersonator." Okay. So we walk up to the They walk up to us, and I'm getting in between these two guys because I can just tell they're drunk and I don't know what. So the guy goes to Don, "That's quite a gig you got going on there, man." So Don's puffing on the cigar after they left. He goes, "What the hell are they talking?" I said, "Don, they thought you were a Don King impersonator." He starts
Damn.
chuckling and laughing. "Call my attorney. There's somebody impersonating me." Okay, Don's just joking around, right? So the two guys start walking towards the door. Don's wearing his denim, Mr. USA Stars and Stripes denim top of his jacket. You know, that jacket he always wore with the president, all the shit on it, right? The guy sneaks up behind Don, pulls on the back of the denim jacket. Don's stumbling all over the place with the cigar in his mouth and the guy says, "You got quite a gig going on there, man." I go, "What the hell's wrong with this guy?" So I said, "Don, I told you, he thinks you're an Elvis." He said, "That was the other guy." I said, "They both do." So that was funny. And then the third thing is pretty funny. Paul Spadafora, who I worked with from his second pro fight on, I looked at him in his first pro fight to see how he was. The promoter, Mike Akery, started promoting him. I was the matchmaker. And he won the world title.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable. And this guy comes up to Paul. We're minding our own business. Guy comes up to Paul and he says, "Can I have your autograph?" Paul says, "Of course." Signs his autograph. He says, "Can I have your autograph again?" Signs his autograph again. Another piece of paper, signs his autograph. Guy pulls out 2 boxing gloves. "Will you sign my autographs?" "Sure." So the guy says, I says to the guy, "What are you doing?" He says, "I just want to make sure." I knew he was full of shit. He's probably selling this stuff,
Yeah.
He says, "I just want to make sure people really know that I came to see Paul Spadafora win the world title." So I thought it was cute. Well, anyways, the next morning, the guy's in front. I'm standing with Paul in the lobby, and the guy comes over. He says, "Sir, can I have your autograph?" It was the same guy.
Oh, okay.
All over again. He must have ran out of merchandise and shit aside and everything else. And in the meantime, it was the same guy. So
It still happens.
Oh
it
yeah.
Still happens the same way.
Oh yeah. It was funny.
What was I about to ask about? The memorabilia. I can't believe what just slipped my mind about the question I was going to ask. But I want to also ask about the situation that happened. That you got a lot of flack for. And I just felt like, my opinion.
Which situation? I get flack all the time. Which one is it?
No, I'm about to explain to you, like the Carissa Shields situation. She fighting in Flint. It was a lot of back and forth verbal sparring between her opponent, trainer, and I guess her sister, Carissa's relative, or whoever she was or whatever. And then the guy got punched in the head. Of course, she was in selective denial or whatever. A lot of people was upset about that because they felt the trainer should have got punched. Me, I didn't feel that way. I just felt like he didn't have anything to do with it. If they had a problem, they should have talked to the promoter or whoever else that was handling the weigh-in. But long story short, I know you mentioned it. You made some comments about it. Why do you think that people will come to her defense, but yet and still she's not highly respected up there in women's boxing like that? Like, she got to continue to tell people.
You know what? I don't know. I don't have that answer. If I had that answer, I'd be the smartest person on earth, because I just don't get her whole thing. She, plays woe is me. This guy gets beat up. She denies she knew who the guy was that beat her up, and it was her half brother. Beat James Bashir up, and it was her half brother. Then they were hiding him out. I mean, all kinds of stuff. And you just don't do stuff like that. You're a fighter of high stature, okay? Especially a fighter of high stature. You have an obligation to yourself, your fans, the boxing commission, your promoter, your manager. okay, and the general public to act in a professional manner. And that was completely low life bullshit. Simple. It's not hard to
I can
understand.
understand why you're mad at her lack of omission. I can understand because I was like the same way. I was like, he's on camera, everything is there. You know, be a
Listen,
stand up
James
person.
Bashir is a well-respected old
Yeah, yeah, I
school,
know.
but he was around Emmanuel Stewart. He was the assistant trainer to the Klitschko, one of the Klitschkos,
Yeah,
maybe both. I don't remember, but he's a well-liked guy,
but he
and just
was he was trash talking though.
but
He was full
but it's
speed.
part. That's part of the game. It's
Yeah, I
part
know.
of it.
I know.
It's part of it.
Everybody's level of sensitivity is different though. At the end of the day,
Listen, there was if it happened, don't deny who the person was.
correct.
Okay, don't hide the person out. Don't do all this stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's
I got
ridiculous.
I got you. Do you think she's the best female fighter in the game right now?
No, there's 5 or 6 women that are really good out there today. I
So
don't watch women's. I don't watch women's boxing, but I know Katie Taylor's good. I know who the good ones are. There's some real good ones out there today.
what about the credentials that she's done already? You know, unification.
She's good, but she can't break a grape.
I know. I mean, it's plenty of
She
fighters,
can't
but
break a grape, and her fights are not exciting. She's very boring. So what do you really have there?
do you give any benefit of her trying to expand her brand though? You know, by doing mixed martial arts and signing with
Listen,
that other
she's got to
promoter?
make a living. She's entitled to make a living. I've never said I didn't want to see her make a living, but just don't deny that you knew who the guy beat him up when it's your half brother. Come on
Yeah,
now. You know what I'm saying? I never saw that guy in my life. No, it's only your half brother. That was going to come
that's a
out.
lot
You
of
know it
us.
was.
Yeah, that's a lot of us.
He should have been a hero. Went and grabbed her brother and says, "Come on, get over here, you idiot." But no, she festered it. She helped it. Not a good look.
I
Pissed a
feel you.
lot of
I mean,
people off.
you were saying more so disgusting in her actions rather than her
But
as a
don't
person.
you think you think Showtime kept her because they wanted to see that happen? They dropped her like a hot potato.
Mm, got
I'm
you.
not wrong. I'm not wrong. Corporate America said goodbye, young lady.
Mm.
I'm not wrong.
So he actually, you know, Bashir did have that pull, huh? From being with Emmanuel Stewart.
No, not the pull from Showtime. Showtime just didn't want anything to do with those antics. You know,
Okay.
that's all. It had nothing to do with that kind of pull. But he's a well-respected trainer in the boxing business, been around forever. I mean, he's part of the soil in boxing. You know,
I got
I
a
mean,
tough question for you there, Rick. I'm switching gears, shifting gears. Captain
sure.
Chaos, got to get his super chat. Appreciate your super chat. He said, "Can you address the Serafina beef?"
Well,
I
I
know you
promised.
spoke about it on Fred's show.
I'll tell you what. I told Fred I'd save it for his show on Monday night because we're coming. Me, Freeway Rick Ross, and Anthony Peterson are coming on. But I'm going to
Okay,
address I'm going to address everything about it. Okay, it's going to
sure.
take a little while, so please be patient with me.
That's
Okay.
all good. I respect that. I respect
Last summer, last fall, September, before I even knew Rick Ross, quote, Sarah says they were supposed to go partners on Anthony Peterson, and she claims Freeway didn't have the money. It's not what happened.
that.
So
Six thousand, right? Like 6,000, yeah.
let me start there. Okay. Freeway had the money. He did not want Sarah as a partner.
Okay,
Okay. He did
I
not
got
want to put up money and have Sarah leading the pack. He didn't want to be led around by Sarah. I don't think Freeway Rick Ross needs Sarah to lead him around. Okay. The man owns 8 businesses. He's got 8 million of his own money tied up in one business alone. Okay.
you.
I don't think $6,000 is changing his way of life. Okay. Freeway's working on generational wealth now because his kids are so young. They're all 8 and 10, and he'll be 62 tomorrow, Wednesday here. He'll be 62 years old.
I ain't
Okay.
mad at it. Shit.
Okay. So he's working on generational wealth. So he didn't want her for a partner. Then she kept screwing up. Okay, as the manager of the fighter, she kept screwing up one thing after the other. Okay, and everything, just everything. Couldn't even get her an interview. Couldn't do anything. So, make a long story short, Freeway's is sitting there one day. He gets a call from Anthony, and he says to Anthony says to him, "Listen, Freeway, I want you to come on as my advisor." I really need you, your social media pull, because understand one thing. We have retained an attorney. We have retained a publicist. We have retained a social media guru. We have retained a strength conditioning diet technician and nutritionalist in California. They're all with us. Okay. So when we bring Freeway on, you get all this help, right? So he said, well, what about Sarah? That's what Freeway said. He said, I'm keeping her on as the manager. You guys are shoring up this whole thing, and you'll work hand in hand with her. He said, sure. Calls me up, gets me on the phone with Anthony. I said, Anthony, that's a great idea. Ba, 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 ba. And we're sending out a press release about all the fighters we signed. We made a deal with him. He wanted to be in the press release. We put him in the press release, and she went hog wild on me and then Freeway that we stole her fighter and all this negativity. She calls up Jake Donovan from Boxing Scene, and she said that press release is a fraud. So he goes and puts down a disclaimer at the end of the thing. Well, Anthony asked her to take down all those negative tweets about me and Freeway. She didn't listen. It was insubordination, unprofessionalism, performance along the way. And when he found out from multiple people that disclaimer was on the bottom of that press release, he went crazy on her. She refused to take all the ones down. She took a lot of the tweets down about me and Freeway, but I think she left like 2 of them up there. She went and did that, and she's yelling lawsuit. He can't. He calls me up. Freeway calls me up one night. He says, Anthony wants to talk to you. He says, draw me up a letter. Okay. Draw me up a letter. Okay. What kind of letter? A termination letter of Sarah. This is what Freeway said. He used the word termination. And that's what I did. Okay. We had planned on working with her. Anthony planned on keeping her, and she went nuts. She said that I tortious interfered with agreement. I'm not even part of this thing. I'm a consultant to Freeway. It's his company. He wasn't doing anything negative. He asked him up front, is Sarah involved? He said, oh yeah, Sarah's going to be involved. She put herself out. We didn't put her out. We didn't steal a fighter. She put herself out. Another thing is, she thought she was the boss of the fighter. A fighter had in business, if you have more than 50% of anything, you are the principal. The fighter is the principal. She's nothing but a contracted employee. Okay? She was released for insubordination, creating a chaos and negativity on social media and in the business of professional boxing. Okay? And she didn't adhere to his demands as him being the boss. She put herself out. We did nothing as such. We did, and we continue to do our business in a business-like manner. Speaking for Freeway and myself, we are not managers. We are advisors. We bring supplemental services to the table, okay, in contract form with Freeway. So in other words, you bring on Freeway, you bring on his 260,000 followers on Instagram. You bring on a social media guru. You bring on a PR guru. You bring on all these people, okay? Just what the facts are.
Hey, thanks for breaking that down. I just heard, her say that somebody asked a question about could Anthony still fight or whatever, and then
of course he can fight. A manager cannot stop in a lawsuit. A manager cannot stop you from fighting. A promoter can stop you from fighting. So yes, he's going to fight.
I guess she was making this to a point where it was contractual agreement. The money that she gave Anthony, she wanted back.
She did not give Anthony. There was a backer named Anthony Powell that put the money up. There was a backer, separate deal from Sarah, completely a separate deal from Sarah. So not telling the truth. Another thing she said was the promoter called her up and said, well, who's this guy, Rick GLASER? Thomas Lamont and I known him since he was a kid. His father's a dear friend of mine since 1993. I went to dinner with a lunch with. He bought my wife and I dinner at a show he promoted in 2000 in Labor Day weekend 2018 in Atlantic City, and he's got my phone number. What's this? Makes up the story on Fred's. Who's this guy Rick GLASER? I never heard of him. Bop 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 bop. All lies. Then she said about me. Then she said about me in a club 15 years ago in Nevada, in Sapphires in Vegas. About they didn't want me sitting at a table. Another lie.
Yeah.
Well, another lie. What happened was that they were sitting there. Me and Brad Goodman walked in from Top Rank. Brad's the matchmaker at Top Rank. Me and Brad walked in there. We joined them momentarily, but 4 people were meeting us there. So we got up to go to the other table with those 4 people that came in that we were waiting for. They were half hour late.
Gotcha.
There was nobody's flying me away from any table.
Oh, so they didn't put you in timeout?
Let me just tell you something. I'm a very rough and tumble guy. I came from the streets. I got indicted for racketeering. I'm not a soft touch for anybody. Yeah. Okay, I got indicted for racketeering, bookmaking, loan sharking, extortion. Okay, everything under the sun. Okay, and to be perfectly frank with you, down the rollbacks on used cars. I didn't miss too many crimes. Okay, if it was to do with numbers, I was in. That's all there was to it.
I got you.
Got indicted for racketeering. The FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office erred in my case, and the judge accepted a plea deal and I got 5 years probation and a $50,000 fine, no cooperation. They made a big error in my case. When I got indicted in front of the U.S. magistrate, when they had the bail hearing, they wanted $500,000, and the judge asked, the magistrate asked, why? He says he's violent and dangerous and settles all disputes of violence. So they kept saying this over and over and over again throughout all these hearings that we had. So I said to George one day, my attorney, George Moscato, still my attorney to this day, okay? My dear friend was at my wedding. Mm-hmm. And I said to George, George, he says to me, are you as bad as they say? Yeah. I says, George, I never hurt anybody. I never physically threatened anybody. I never got heavy-handed. He said, what do you mean? I said, I didn't have to. He says, what do you mean you didn't have to? I said, well, first of all, every bookmaking client I had, every one of them was, and the crap game I had, everything I had were all doctors, lawyers, judges, CPAs, business owners, right? Okay, all big people in the community. They're all paying me. They're all homeowners. They're not going to pay me, right? I'm not taking money. That's from fly-by-night people here. Then the loan sharking was all people that owned businesses. They were what we call gap loans, where like they had a lot of merchandise coming in. They had a store and they needed 15, 20,000 to pay for it cash so they can get it a lot cheaper. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and this way they could beat the sales tax because it's not on their books. And they pay me, and I, 20,000. I charge them 1,000 for the month, something like that. But they would get the merchandise thousands cheaper, and they could grab the sales tax too. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So I didn't. They all owned businesses and they all owned homes. So basically speaking, I never had to get heavy-handed with anybody. So what happened was my lawyer walked up to the judge one day. The judge was on the bench. And he says, Your Honor, I have a brilliant idea. We've heard throughout this case, every step of the way, okay? We've every step of the way, we've heard that my client is violent and dangerous and it settles all disputes of violence. Your Honor, have you heard that in this case? He says hundreds of times. I says, okay, here we go. Okay. If the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI can produce 3 witnesses that said they were physically bodily harmed or threatened, we will sentence my client to 5 years in prison and a fine. Okay, but if they don't come up with 3 witnesses, okay, there will be I'll plead it to give them probation and a fine. He looks at the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI agent that was in the court, the 2 FBI agents. He said, gentlemen, you have 90 days to produce 3 people. It says they were bodily harmed or bodily harmed or threatened to be bodily harmed or put a high level of distress, emotional distress on somebody. Okay. They accepted that. 90 days we came back. You ready, Scotty?
Yeah.
They didn't have 3 witnesses. They didn't have 2 witnesses. They didn't have 1. They had 0. Not 1 person. Okay, now remember, they were when I got indicted, they had been tailing me for over a year. 14 months they were tailing me, okay, and following me and surveillance and everything else. So they went to all those store owners, all those lawyers, all those accountants that were betting with me or borrowing money from me. Not 1 person testified against me. I didn't have to get heavy-handed with anybody. Okay, there was no reason to. Okay, so I was providing a service to them. Okay, so in the meantime, the judge says, come back, whatever it was. This was in July. Come back in September. We're going to go for sentencing. Gives me 5 years probation. I had already said I was never going to cooperate, so I didn't have to cooperate. 5 years probation, and I got a $50,000 fine. Okay, and I was off and running. Now, how did I get in the boxing business? You want to know? I know you know. I know you know this already, Scotty, because you heard this. But yeah, I want to tell all your great listeners, all the boxing enthusiasts that are listening. You ready? What happened was I had a bitch for a probation officer. This woman was nasty. Okay, completely nasty. She despised me. So, in the meantime, what happened was she was making me pee in the bottle, urinate in the bottle for drug and alcohol, which that wasn't part of my probationary terms at all, because I had no history of drug. I never had a drink in my life until I met my wife many years later. And you know, is it a little like sip of wine? She says, "Oh, try this, you'll like it." Or like on my wedding night, champagne, a little sip. That's it. So in the meantime, I went to my lawyer. I said, George, she's making me go 3 times a week. She's making me test about what? So I went in front of the judge, and the judge said, listen, you're not wrong, Mr. GLASER, but you've been robbing this community long enough. It's about time you give back. I'm going to set right now. I'm going to tell you, you got to go once a month. There's no more pissing in any bottles, and I want you to come back next month and tell me what you're doing for the community. What did I do? I went down to the local PAL, Police Athletic League. All the young boys in the gym working out and training. I took them to the Golden Gloves. I spent 4 nights a week in that gym, Monday through Thursday. I didn't go on Friday because I had a social commitment every Friday at the time with a certain woman. But Monday through Thursday, I took them to the Golden Gloves. I took them to Rochester for fights, Erie, Pennsylvania, Canada, Toronto, Hamilton, whatever I did to do, I did. I paid. I did everything I was supposed to do. Well, 2 of the kids wanted to turn pro. There was an old timer in the gym named Roger Brown. He was looking for a trainer. His trainer had diabetes, was in the hospital, couldn't train anybody at the moment. So I called up his promoter. He asked me to call up his promoter, Mike Akery, who handled at the time Roberto Duran. And I called him up. He lived in Erie, Pennsylvania, only an hour and a half from Buffalo. And he said to me, magic line. He said to me, Rick, I've never heard your name before. Who did you ever train? I says, nobody, but everybody has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
He said to myself, he says, I've never heard such an honest line in professional boxing. I got to come to Buffalo to meet you. Came to Buffalo maybe a month later, and we were off and running together. And he was my forte into professional boxing, and he was the first guy to take me. He said, I have a brother, but he's not in boxing, nor is he gonna be. And he says, we're gonna work together like brothers. And he was a year older than me. We got along. He just passed away a year ago, January 10th or January 11th. I'm sorry. And great guy. His name was Mike Akery. He had at that time, what's his name? Duran. He took on Camacho after that. Him and I developed Paul Spatafor. He had Razor Ruddock for a while. He had a whole bunch of world champions and top contenders. So there you go. That's how I got started. So the criminal part led into the boxing. Great story.
Didn't you used to train boxers for a little bit? You trained?
Well, when I first started out, for the first 6 months, I did. Yes. And I
Okay.
worked cuts for the first year and a half. I worked cuts too. Listen, I had to make a living. I left the car business and right away almost, and the automobile business. I really couldn't do much in the automobile business because of my criminal record at that point. I couldn't have a license, a dealer license in my name, so I couldn't really do too much. So I went into boxing and I did what I had to do every day, hustled and did cuts and did what I had to do. Here I am, 31 years later, and still smiling. Great decision I made to get into boxing. I made 3 great decisions my whole life. Tell you what they are: getting into boxing, marrying my wife, and not marrying all the other women I ever dated. Those were 3 great decisions.
I'm gonna leave that alone, Doc.
Come on,
I'm gonna leave that alone.
we got I don't know 18 minutes, whatever. Here, come on, keep going here. We're gonna put
Yep.
2 hours in with you tonight,
Yeah,
and I hope to have you invite me back another time because you do ask good questions and you're a good listener. Fire away, come on, keep going.
yeah. The only thing I thought about, I was trying to wait to somebody join me on the panel to kind of talk to you a little bit.
Who's
That I
that?
know
Who's that?
um, one of Captain Chaos's friends, Showtime Shaw. I was trying to see if you want to. He good friends with Captain Chaos. You know what I'm saying? He has his own media company over there, NYC. He's behind like Jahad Tucker. He the one that made the phone call and linked that up. Jahad Tucker.
Yeah, from
So
Top Range. Yeah, yeah, I know, Jai. He's a good fighter. He's actually he's got nice uppercut, nice hook. He's a pretty good fighter for a young kid.
yeah, he linked them up, man. Jahad's very talented, but he linked them up. He's on Jahad Tucker team. I
Mm-hmm.
was gonna see if you want to come over here and ask you some questions. But let me look in the chat right quick and see what things they have to say.
I know one of them. Get this racist bastard off your show.
Here go one from Zach. Zach said, "Things I learned tonight because Rick's Jewish. He can't be racist. He doesn't watch women boxing and hell, and he'll probably end up writing a book about his street life." Hey, I would write a book if my life was interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Can I say something to you? I am going to write a book. It's not a tell-all about boxing, and it's not really about me. Okay, I know what the title is. It's a very unusual title, and I'm going to write a book someday about all kinds of funny experiences while dating, funny experiences just in general. I've had a lot of you got to remember, I didn't get married for the first time to age 55. I have a lot of great stories about women. I have more stories how I didn't get lucky rather than ones I did get lucky.
Yeah.
So
Have your wife gravitated to boxing over the years or
oh, she
no?
loves boxing. She came
Okay.
when she met me. She was thrilled that she was. It was great. I thought it was wonderful. She watched the fights with her father and her brother, and her father passed away a year ago this past November. Right around Thanksgiving time, great November 20th. Great man. I miss him every day. We watched fights together. We watched Alabama football because he was from Alabama originally, and he was a big part. The father was a big part of my life.
Yeah.
Her father. His name was Willie Jones, and he was a very big part of my life. As her brother Chris Jones is a big part of my life today. So it is what it is. He passed on, and he was a great man. He was 89 years old. He was closer to 90 than he was 89, but a shame. Great
Thanks
guy.
for dropping that, Rick. I appreciate it. Captain Chaos asked a question that a lot of people always ask: did Paul beat Floyd in sparring? Paul, how great could he have been? Paul
Well, nobody beats anybody in sparring because sparring is unofficial. But
yeah.
Paul more or less played with Floyd. Jesse Reed was there training. What's his name at the time? Paul Spadafora, and Roger Mayweather was training Floyd at the time. And Floyd was world champ at 130 at that time, WBC. Paul was IBF world lightweight champ. And but there is a little difference. Floyd was on his second week of sparring, and the kid was on his fourth week of sparring. So
Floyd was deconditioned, out of shape a little bit.
No, not out of shape physically, but I don't think he was out of shape physically as much as he was not in fighting shape.
Okay.
Okay, but I still think if they had a fight, I'm going to tell you how I feel about Floyd. Floyd was a great 130 pounder.
Yeah.
He was a great 140 pounder. He was a great 147. He was not a great 135 pounder. He had a very iffy decision with Castillo. He didn't stay long at the weight. He won the rematch. Um, he lost rounds to Victoriano Sosa, who was a journeyman fighter that Mike Akery and I were involved with. We promoted him, and he was just a guy in reality. And Paul lost rounds to him. So my point is that he was not a great third, even though I consider him an all-time great fighter. Okay, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the greats, of the greatest of the modern era, but he was not a great 35 pounder. 30, 35, and 47, absolutely. 35, no. He never won a big fight at 35. There's your answer.
Well, but due to his numbers overall, he is one of the
Oh
greatest in
no,
this
no,
era.
no, 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 no. Right, but we're talking about Paul fighting Floyd is why I
Oh,
brought
yeah.
how I segregated into that. Okay, and is because Paul was a great 35 pounder. Paul could have been an all-time great 135 pounder, but due to drugs,
Yeah.
alcohol, women, the only bad habit he didn't have was gambling. He had the three big vices besides gambling. What can I say? But he was a great fighter. He
I
didn't
mean,
lose a fight till he
you're
was like
reaching the pockets
39 years
just the
old.
same.
What's
What
that?
now?
He
I
didn't lose a
say,
fight till he was like 39 years old.
okay.
And he
I
got
mean,
robbed.
how great, how great could he have been if he didn't have all those,
He would
collateral?
have been an all-time great 135 pounder. He would have been up there with the greats.
Hmm. That's what's up. Appreciate that super chat, that Captain Chaos in the building. Appreciate that. Thanks for the question. We always hear about that sparring because I heard Floyd mention that he said he wasn't in shape. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he wasn't. He was in shape. If you looked at him, he was in shape. He just wasn't in fighting shape. That there's a difference between fighting shape and being in shape. Okay, so if you looked at him, he didn't look flabby, but at the same time, is he he wasn't ready to handle a guy like Spadafora.
Okay. I heard you say
Who
back then on an interview at another podcast, you had said that you think Ryan Garcia beat Shavante Davis. You still think that?
Well, that's before he had all these mental issues. I don't know. Whoever hits who on the chin. That's what it's about in that
How
fight.
far do you think? How far do you think Javante will go? Already a three-weight champion. You think he'll go up to
No,
47?
I don't think he's going to go very far. Floyd's got the reins on him. He's got like a governor on the speed control there. Okay, he's had him on cruise control. But
Yeah.
Here's why. The reason why Aaron can make these big fights with Hearn and whoever wins because they have so many world champions. Floyd's only
Yeah.
that's his only moneymaker.
True. True.
That he can't afford to have him lose. How's he going to pay Leonard? Buy them fancy
Why is he
suits
not excelling though? Why is he not excelling as Mayweather Promotions? Why he doesn't have it more, in his
because he
stable?
has no boxing. He has no real boxing guys around him.
Hmm.
All yes men. Can you
He's
imagine?
not asking for too
Leonard?
much.
Could you imagine Leonard debating Floyd? Yes, Floyd. Yes, Floyd. Yes. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, him. Yes, him. Yes, him. Floyd.
I mean, I don't know. That's outside my scope, but that's funny as hell, though. You know what I'm saying? He part of the team, man. Right? Leonard's working for Floyd, right?
Yeah, but everybody's afraid of Floyd, and he has no boxing guys around. No real boxing guys to tell him right from wrong.
Is him and Al tight like people assume they are? Are they super tight, or they used to be, or
They
what?
were at one time, but there's a lot of cracks in that armor right now.
Okay.
Too many people have told me that are tight with with PBC and tight with Floyd. So everybody can't be wrong. There's truth in quantity.
Absolutely. I feel that. I'm just I look at how everybody would say, well, the situation with Bob and he's racist, this, that, and the other. But yet Bob Arum, I've heard he said he don't want black fighters fighting other black fighters. You know what I'm saying? Plus he has very limited female fighters signed to him. So
One.
Yeah,
That
one.
doesn't make him racist. They put all their eggs in one basket with her.
No, I'm not saying to make him racist. I'm just saying like everybody has their pros and cons to how they do business.
How many women fighters does PBC have?
One.
What's his name? Sister Fondora's sister.
Yeah.
Eddie's the only one. Eddie and Golden Boy have quite a few female fighters. Eddie's got the most. Golden Boy's got a few.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't. I don't get it. Like now that all these fighters are going on PPV, it doesn't seem like it's a smooth sailing, because before they were saying, oh, Al Heyman's giving all his fighters this money, they feel comfortable, they good to go. I heard that money's exhausted now. It's depleted.
It's been exhausted. They're running on fumes. You know, Floyd's pissed off that he keeps putting all this money up for Canelo and everything else, and getting his guys. He's looking to get his guys knocked off. I don't know. I think he wants to get his guys knocked off intentionally, so he doesn't have to pay him as much going forward. They'll be damaged goods, you know, reputation wise.
Hey, Rick Glaser, I appreciate you pulling up to WCS. Real talk. I do look forward to doing it again, man. Thanks for your candor, being genuine. I can give a damn what you did in the past and everything. All of us are imperfect in our own way. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, at least I admit it. Most people hide shit.
I mean,
I'm an open book.
At least you're getting on this social media.
No, I never do. I never do. When I met my wife, and the first words out of my mouth were, "I'm legally blind. I can't drive. Okay, I'm not allowed in Canada. I'm a convicted felon. I'm not allowed in Canada at all." And she says, "Is there anything good about you?" That's what my wife said. So I was very upfront. That's the way I operate. You know, I was trying to sign a fighter at one time, and I told the father that that about my past, so he doesn't come to me and say, "Oh, you didn't tell me." No, here I told you. So I'm very honest about it. You know, I don't hide things. I'm not a hider of things. If something goes wrong on a business deal, I call the people right away that I made the deal for. Hey, this is sideways. This is screwed up. He says, I just want to let you know. He said, well, we work on fixing it. Yeah, but I just want to let you know it's sideways right now. So I'm going to work on getting it repaired. That's who I am. You know, I want to say thank you. I just want to say one thing, that anybody wants to follow me on Twitter. It's at Real Rick Glaser 1. There's a lot of Real Rick Glazers. There's a lot of Rick Glaser, Rick Glaser 1, all this kind of stuff. But it's at Real Rick Glaser 1, and I'm following a little over 4,100 people are following me, and it's all about boxing. You got the occasional, something on social, my wife, we had a family party last night, something like that. But it's 99% boxing. And it's at Real Rick Glaser 1. Look forward to being on your show, Scotty. You're a genuine person yourself, and I enjoyed my stay here tonight. 2 hours, it's not bad,
No. So, hey, you make 2 hours go by just like you're on the treadmill. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I was on Fred's for 3 hours and 5 minutes at 2.5 hours. The one I was at 2.5 hours, I had to apologize. I had a conference call starting. I don't know, was it 1 o'clock in the morning? I believe it was, whatever that time. I had a conference call overseas starting. I had to get off, so I didn't have any choice because Fred called me in on short notice earlier that day. So I already had the conference call scheduled. So I apologized to Fred. I'm here for your, whatever you need. I'm here. You've got my phone number. You got my email. There's nothing you don't have. I'm available to you. Love your show. You do a great job. You ask great questions, and you're a professional. And I look forward to being on here again. Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, appreciate you, Rick. Take it easy, you and your wife. Thanks for dropping through.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Yeah, everybody that's here, in the building. Hey, thanks for pulling up. Big shout out to Captain Chaos. I gotta, give a salute to the one who made it happen. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it's supposed to go. And also I want to give a shout out, Fred, I did get a lot of information off the interview that he did with Rick Glaser, the interviews, so to speak. And shout out to Barbershop Conversations, for having Rick Glaser on. So I was able to look at several of his interviews, and once again, citing where you get the content from, I was able to get a lot of information from the interview. And, you know, hey, I know some people feel the way they do about Rick GLASER. Some people feel the way they do about me too. I mean, look, y'all said what y'all had to say. I don't really run a panel. I don't really do the call-ins or whatever. But I know some people that was heated. It is what it is. I'm not feeling no type of way. But this is the one point that I can make. When someone is being addressed as such, and you're calling them that, you're framing them as that, then the action, to me, the action has to play itself out sooner or later. Like you have to see it play itself out. Where's it playing itself out? Like, I know people were mad on what he said about Fury beating Deontay. I get it. I've been around this. I get when you was mad, but to say it's racist because he's going that way, I didn't ever see any tests, any tweets out there that he was racist. I just didn't. Now, did he put some stuff out and say some things that people disagree with? Yeah, it's a lot of names that we can put out there of mainstream media that does that. Man, come on, man. Even on this YouTube shit, come on, man. Y'all, man, I'm telling you, I don't see it. I don't care who get mad. I could really care less, man. I don't see it. Because I'm gonna tell you, if I'm so-called the person that has something with another race or whatever, I'm not gonna spend time, on stage. I'm not gonna get dressed up in costume and get in character to be fake. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. It's not gonna happen. Dion Washington, I appreciate you. Smoke pulled up. Chad Perez, appreciate you. Say great interview, man. I appreciate you, but I appreciate everyone who pulled up. Real talk. I saw the usuals that's in here. Even Mitch on deck. Jay Ocho, Sir Ken. I didn't see a lot of y'all when I was actually, engaging in the topics at hand. Eric Hunter, this is the first time seeing you over here, man. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of other people that pulled up. But you know what to do, man. Share the content. Continue to support the channel. Turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports. And once again, big shout out to Rick GLASER for pulling up on WCS, and talking everything collectively. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that. Real talk. I appreciate that. And shout out to Captain Chaos. I'm out.